How was it to work with Dustin? And I tell the half-truth, which is, as an actor working with him, I owe him everything. He was abusive and he was a bully. I learned so much. And then I would stop.
What happens when a genius takes things just a little too far? Dustin Hoffman built his career on pushing boundaries, but not everyone on set was willing to stay silent. From sudden outbursts to manipulative acts, the fallout left behind a trail of actors and collaborators with stories they couldn't forget. Let's uncover the 7 moments that shaped this complicated and controversial legacy. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Number 1, Meryl Streep. Imagine stepping onto a Hollywood set for the first time, still carving out your own voice, only to have your boundaries pushed by a legend. That's what Meryl Streep faced during the filming of Kramer vs. Kramer. In one pivotal scene, Dustin Hoffman shocked everyone by slapping Streep across the face, something that hadn't been planned, rehearsed, or agreed upon. It was a moment designed to heighten the emotion, but it came without warning, leaving Streep stunned. She later reflected on it, describing Hoffman's action as overstepping, a harsh violation disguised as creative choice. This moment wasn't just about a slap, it spoke volumes about the dynamics on set. Hoffman, already an established star, wielded immense influence, while Streep, still relatively new, had to navigate the precarious waters of keeping her professionalism intact. He called this method acting, she saw it as manipulation. Number 2, Sydney Pollack. What happens when the star of your movie decides your vision isn't enough? That's exactly what Sydney Pollack dealt with when directing Tootsie. Dustin Hoffman, already known for being meticulous, took things further by constantly questioning decisions on set. He didn't just have opinions, he rewrote dialogue, critiqued camera angles, and even insisted on multiple takes when most directors would have moved on. For Pollack, this wasn't collaboration, it was chaos.
Well, Tootsie was another picture that I was totally shocked was a success. It was fraught with problems, and Dustin had hired the directors and fired the directors. I didn't want to get into a situation because they had fired the directors and it was a movie that was originally controlled by the actor, by Dustin.
Their clashes were so intense that Pollack reportedly considered walking away from the project altogether. In one heated argument, Hoffman questioned Pollack's authority as a director, leaving Pollack to fight for control over his own film. Yet ironically, this fraught relationship gave the movie its charm. Pollack eventually cast himself opposite Hoffman as his no-nonsense agent, and their real-life tension bled into some of the film's sharpest scenes. The result? Tootsie became a critical triumph, earning 10 Oscar nominations, but the journey showcased just how thin the line can be between creative brilliance and professional strain. Number 3, Wendy Riss. Imagine scoring a meeting with one of Hollywood's biggest actors, only to watch it spiral into something you'd rather forget. That's what happened to Wendy Riss in the early 1990s. As a rising playwright, Riss was invited to discuss adapting her work into a screenplay, a golden opportunity for someone striving to break into the industry. But instead of professional advice or constructive notes, Dustin Hoffman allegedly shifted the conversation, making personal remarks that instantly derailed the tone of the meeting. According to Riss, Hoffman asked probing and inappropriate questions, comments that veered far from the script on the table. When Riss didn't reciprocate or respond as expected, the talk seemed to lose momentum. The excitement of her big break faded as the meeting dissolved into an experience she later described as both disheartening and diminishing. Her career, already delicate at this stage, stalled soon after the encounter. Years later, Riss came forward with her story, speaking on how such moments of power imbalance can silence fresh voices before they even have a chance to grow. From silencing a playwright to exhausting a co-star, Hoffman's demanding personality took many forms. Number 4, Terry Garr. What do you do when your co-star acts like the director, the writer, and everything in between? That's what Terry Garr faced while working alongside Dustin Hoffman on Tootsie. From the start, Hoffman's behavior went beyond typical collaboration. Gar described how he would constantly give her unsolicited line readings, stepping in to tell her how he thought she should deliver her performance. While she approached scenes with her own creative instincts, Hoffman seemed determined to impose his interpretation, leaving little room for organic collaboration. Hoffman's actions didn't stop there. He openly questioned the director Sidney Pollack in front of the crew, creating a tense working environment where boundaries between roles blurred. For Gar, this atmosphere was frustrating to say the least. In her own sharp words, she described Hoffman as a pain in the ass, summarizing the exhaustion of working with someone who couldn't resist being involved in every detail. Hoffman may have been overbearing, but Gar's talent proved impossible to overshadow. While she endured his intensity, others in Hollywood found ways to steer clear altogether. Number 5, John Malkovich. What makes an actor so difficult that others refuse to set foot on the same set? For John Malkovich, the answer was simple. Known for his blunt honesty, Malkovich once described Dustin Hoffman as a bit of a bully. Surprisingly, this wasn't based on any personal confrontation or shared project. Instead, his critique of Hoffman stemmed entirely from what Malkovich and much of Hollywood had heard about Hoffman's reputation. Stories of on-set intensity and relentless demands had circulated long before Malkovich made that comment, painting an image of Hoffman as a volatile presence. Malkovich's observations reflected something larger, an unspoken but widely acknowledged understanding within the industry about what it took to work with Hoffman. He warned fellow actors about ego dominance and the uneasy power dynamics that often followed Hoffman onto a set. For a community where reputations carry enormous weight, Malkovich's willingness to publicly call out someone of Hoffman's stature was rare and bold. Number 6, Anna Graham Hunter. How do you stand your ground when you're just starting out? For Anna Graham Hunter, that question became a daily reality during her internship on Death of a Salesman in 1985. She was 17, ambitious, and eager to learn from industry veterans like Dustin Hoffman. Instead, she found herself navigating a set filled with unprofessional moments, many of them coming directly from Hoffman. According to Hunter, it wasn't just off-color jokes or casual remarks. It was an ongoing atmosphere that left her feeling dismissed and out of place. Hunter documented these moments in letters to her sister, writing about how Hoffman's crude jokes and inappropriate comments embarrassed her. She felt reduced to a young face in a room where criticism and humor at her expense seemed normalized. For Hunter, this wasn't isolated. It was a reflection of how power played out on set. The reality she described was one where her discomfort wasn't taken seriously, and the weight of those experiences continued to linger. Number 7, Catherine Ross. What happens when the chemistry on screen hides the discomfort off camera? For Catherine Ross, filming The Graduate was an eye-opening experience, especially when it came to working alongside Dustin Hoffman. As Elaine Robinson, Ross shared some of the film's most emotionally vulnerable and intimate moments with Hoffman, but off-camera, she described him as cold and detached, particularly during those very scenes. Instead of fostering a safe, collaborative environment, Hoffman's intensity created a sense of distance that left Ross feeling isolated throughout much of the process. Ross later reflected on how the lack of warmth and communication on set cemented their dynamic. Rehearsals were heavy with tension, marked by short, transactional interactions and minimal dialogue. She hinted that while the results on screen dazzled audiences, the actual experience behind the scenes was far less magical. This approach, prioritizing performance at any cost, reflected a deeper pattern for Hoffman, one of focusing so much on his own process that his co-stars were left navigating the fallout alone. Each of these stories paints a vivid picture of the strength it takes to work with someone as demanding and complicated as Dustin Hoffman. From Meryl Streep's boundary-pushing experience to Wendy Riss's silenced opportunity, these moments highlight how resilience often speaks louder than conflict. The call for professionalism against adversity echoes through Hollywood, proving that talent and integrity can outlast even the hardest challenges. So, how should we weigh artistic greatness against personal accountability? It's a question worth asking. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hoffman's legacy may be complicated, but the perseverance of those around him is what truly stands tall.